3.
Welcome to the Three Grandmas podcast. We have a special guest this week, an unannounced guest. Welcome, BarbieZodiac. I said BarbieZilla.
Welcome, BarbieZilla.
Hey, that more.
In the chat
Thank you.
Yeah, it's changing your name now. BarbieZodiac, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to be going through a scene from the movie. Try and figure out which one it is.
We're having so many problems with this scene that it's so crazy.
The Darko family has convened for dinner. They eat silently for several moments.
I'm voting for Dukakis.
Perhaps when you have children of your own that need braces and you can't afford them because half of your husband's paycheck goes to the federal government, you'll regret that decision.
I'm not going to squeeze one out until I'm 30.
Will you still be working at the Yarn Barn? Because that's a great place to raise children.
No, a year of partying is enough. She'll be going to Harvard this fall.
I haven't been accepted yet, Mother.
If you think Michael Dukakis will provide for this country prior to the point when you decide to squeeze one out, I think you're misinformed.
When can I squeeze one out?
Not until like 8th grade.
Excuse me?
Donnie, you're a dick.
Whoa, Elizabeth, a little hostile there. Maybe you should be the one in therapy. Then Mum and Dad can pay someone $200 an hour to listen to all of your thoughts, so we don't have to.
Maybe you'd like to tell Mom and Dad why you stopped taking your medication.
An awkward silence.
You stopped taking your medication?
When can I squeeze one out, Mom?
You're such a fuck ass.
When did you stop taking your medication?
Did you just call me a fuck ass?
That's enough.
You can
suck a fuck.
Please tell me, Elizabeth, how exactly does one suck a fuck?
We will not have this kind of language at the dinner table.
They are all silent for a moment.
The fuck ass.
That's
Oh my God.
You don't have to read the... That's for the
Yes,
actors,
I
my guy.
do.
No, that's
No,
not
no.
a stage direction. That's a
when you're
Listen,
doing
when
it.
you actually direct a show on Twitch, then you can tell me how scripts work, okay?
Have you ever seen a table read? Have you ever been at a table
I thought
read?
if we
They
just
always
took a
read the
pause,
action.
it would be more natural, and we just... But, you know, we have different... You know, that's fine. I still love you.
So, on the podcast today, we have BarbieZodiac. Thank you so much for coming on. So you picked this movie, didn't you? So originally it was going to be...
Can we get... Barbie, you want to shout out your channel and tell us about your stream?
Oh, so
yes.
update title. Update title, Casey.
Okay, yeah, so I'm BarbieZodiac, on twitch.tv. We do a little bit of everything, whether it's just chatting, talking about our day, current events, and then playing a little bit of games too, particularly GeoGuessr. I'm pretty good at that. And then we like to wind down with some cozy horror games other days
What's your
as well.
Taco Bell order?
Taco Bell order. It's got to be a chalupa supreme. I mean, every time it's a staple. Large Pepsi. Yeah.
Of course. And then how do you feel about the Cheez-Its cross-brand promotion?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great collaboration. And I look forward to them doing more fun collaborations like that. Yeah.
It's delicious. And I saw you
really
talking about it on
good.
the stream, and that's why I had to ask.
I've still never forgiven Taco Bell for getting rid of the double-decker.
Oh.
Shout
I
out to
don't know why any of
Double Decker.
those
Rest
things
in
are.
power.
RIP.
We only just got
Yeah.
Taco Bell like 2 years ago in Australia. So
Wow.
The land before time.
yeah,
Where he
yeah.
lives.
We're stuck in the past.
You know
Yeah.
Midnight Oil, the band Midnight Oil, and they're always like in a mining town out in the outback. That's literally where JC. He's literally in
literally where I
Midnight
live.
Oil video right now, which I love. It's not good for him because the internet's crazy.
But, did you know the lead singer of Midnight Oil was an Australian politician? He
Oh yeah, I did know that.
yeah, he was a senator, I think, or a House of Rep. So Barbie, you chose this movie, yes? So it was originally going to
Yeah.
be Time's slot, but but he decided to bring you on and let you pick his movie for the week.
Yes.
So if anyone could guess, for the audiences out there, what movie did you pick and why?
Oh, for me or for the audience?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not for you,
For
buddy.
you.
Why
Yeah.
do you
Oh,
love
okay,
Donnie Darko?
yes.
Why did you pick this movie? How does it move you?
Yeah, so this is my all-time hands down favorite movie. I've tried to find other movies to replace it. I thought maybe I'd grow out of it. It's like a teenager phase or something, but all throughout the years, it's been incredible. And typically when I find a movie I like, I usually follow the like the director or something. And this one I didn't. This movie has a range of emotions, themes, and it's one of those movies where you don't understand it at the end, which always has me puzzled and wanting more. I've watched it over probably 50 times, and it's always just as great as it was the first time. So, yeah.
Do you watch it now and like fully understand, or is there still things that you're still like iffy about?
Yeah, there's still things that I don't understand about the movie, and I try to go in and figure it out and think maybe, oh, I have it this time, I got it, and it doesn't connect the way I want it to, and I still don't know what's going on at the end.
What's going on?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see this movie when it came out, or did it come into your lap later, or were you interested from the jump?
I believe the first time I saw it, it may have been a Blockbuster rental. It was later on. I think I was at least like 15 when I saw it for the first time. Yeah.
Right. It's a 2001 movie, right? And it's set in 88, right? It's an interesting double dip into nostalgia, right? Because you have 2001 vibes because it's created in that time period, and it's due to the necessity of production, you have certain elements that remind you of that. But then they have a really good job with the haircuts and the clothes and the cars, and from 1988, which when I was 15, I was basically the same age as the high school kids in this movie. So they got a lot of that stuff very accurate, the cultural things, and I appreciate
It is
that.
set in the 80s, that's right.
88,
Yeah.
because they talk
1988.
about
Yeah.
the caucus and Reagan and stuff like that. That's the hint. They never say, "Oh, it's 1988." They just start the film by talking about Michael Dukakis, right?
Yeah.
In 2001, you would know who that is, but nowadays, of course, that's a long ass time ago.
I do want to know, is this movie it's set, is it pre tank photo or post tank photo? Because I don't think.
Of Team in
like,
Square?
No, Michael Dukakis. Yeah. Was that in Tim?
The tank. Oh, when
tank
during the
photo,
campaign,
yeah.
for friends at home, what happened during the 1988 campaign, and this is so hilarious that this was an issue, is there was a photograph of Michael Dukakis, who was the governor of Massachusetts, and he started that campaign with like a 30-point lead on George H.W. Bush, because George H.W. Bush had a problem with Iran-Contra, and there was a recession, and there was a lot of economic problems. But unfortunately for Michael Dukakis, he got caught in a photograph in a tank with a silly helmet on. And that, as well as a bad debate performance where what happened is the questioner asked him, what would happen, how would you feel? He's against the death penalty, right? And so he's articulating that point, and they say, well, what happened if your husband or if your wife was the victim of the crime? And what he should have said is, that's just an inappropriate question, but instead he hemmed and hawed, and so he blew a 30-point lead, which is something you could do in 1988 with a photo and one, because they weren't on TV anywhere near as much as they are now. No.
Yeah. So yeah, I was wondering if this was pre that or post that, like just the way that the family reacted to Elizabeth's.
I mean, the film's.
question.
I mean, he wrote. This is almost. He talks about it from the notes I had, that he's trying to do part of his coming of age story. Right. So he went to USC, and he probably was in high school in '88. He probably went to a private school. They filmed it in Long Beach, but all of the aerials of like when they have the woods and stuff, that's in Virginia. So the first thing I said is like, I thought this was supposed to be California, because he's at the golf course and it's just like all these forests, right? And like that's not.
Yeah.
It's just not.
That's not
where people
Cali.
live.
Yeah.
That would be all mowed over. So I looked that up immediately, and he said that it's part of his coming of age story too.
We're talking about Richard Kelly, the director.
Richard Kelly.
Got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Barbie, have you seen Richard Kelly's other films?
I actually have. I've seen The Box, which is another great movie with Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that for a minute, so people don't know what that's about? We can just mention it briefly. I love to talk about the directors.
Oh yeah. So The Box is a movie where. So pretty much the plot is a mysterious man shows up to your house, puts a box on the table, and offers you, I don't know if it was $1 million or a couple million.
$1 million. Yep.
1 million, but someone has to die. And you'll never know you won't know who's going to happen to you? Would you say yes? Would you say no, essentially? And I believe it takes place in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably
Yeah,
worth a lot more back
wonderful.
then as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a
I'm pushing the
Twilight
button.
Zone. It feels very much Twilight Zone because it's like they show up at the house with a box. If you press the button, you get the money. You never know who dies. You never feel guilty about it. But then the plot centers around the unintended consequences of the butterfly effect of when
Yeah.
you do take a life and the things that do happen because you can't assuage your actions in the end because they're so powerful. When you take somebody's life, it affects.
You say it's like the Twilight Zone, but there's actually a Twilight Zone episode that's based on the same short story.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
As the box, yeah. So yeah, and the box is really weird for some reason. Like there's a lot of like philosophical stuff in that movie as well, just like in Donnie Darko and his other film Southland Tales, which I want to get into. For some reason, he seems to be super obsessed with water and the way water works and like the look of water. He uses like that for the chest when the when the water bubbles coming out of their chest in Donnie Darko, and there's like weird stuff got to do with water in the box as well. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, yes.
It had to do with. Do you remember that at the end? It's like the big
I do remember
water
that.
cubes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what that was all about though.
You're talking about the temporal distortions that's pulling people through the wormhole of time. And basically what he's trying to say is that if you look at physics, like the person isn't moving, the world is moving around you. And that's kind of the way they explain the physics of big things like planets and gravitational pull. It's like the planet's not moving. I mean, the space around it is moving and not the thing, not the person itself. And that's what that is supposed to represent, I think.
Yeah. So Donnie Darko is a film that I saw when I think I was 13 for the first time. And it's one of those movies that like you hear about and you say, oh, this sounds weird. It's got a creepy bunny on the cover. You think it's a horror movie. And I saw it. And it's one of those films that changed the way that I look at films. Like it's a very... I feel like I say this every week, but we just keep picking films from my childhood. But this is a really formative film for me. Like it's up there with like The Dark Knight and this. They're like they're basically the two films that got me into filmmaking and got me into seeing that you could do more with film than like the standard stuff you see. This movie did not make a lot of money on its initial release. It ended up being a big DVD sales
cult classic
winner.
Did you see this before this week time?
It's my first time seeing it.
First time? What were your initial impressions of this?
So there's like a handful of movies where I've heard of them, and to me, I always thought they were just insane, crazy movies that you're going to watch it and you're just going to be sit there questioning life. Yeah. The other one, I can't remember what the other one's called. It's one with the Jared Leto, the drug movie, Requiem for a Dream.
Oh,
Yeah, there's that one,
Another
and
banger.
I can't remember what the other movie is, but there's those movies. So that's all I knew. I mean, I knew Jake Gyllenhaal was in. I knew about the bunny. I didn't know specifically what it was about or like the subject matter. So I was like completely blind coming in. So
were you surprised at how comedic
You think it was
this
going to be
film was?
scary? Yeah.
No, I didn't think it was gonna be scary. I just thought it was gonna be just a total mind fuck.
That bunny's
essentially.
scary as fuck, though. I
He's
love
creepy.
how
Yes.
it's
creepy.
like they talk about like it gives you Watership Down. I don't know if you've ever heard of Watership Down, but it's like a 70s hand painted cartoon for adults, feature length, but it's all about rabbits and the relationship to each other. But it's not for kids. It's a really interesting movie.
They mentioned it in the movie.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It was good. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was really good. And I guess he went with that, but he wanted to make it sinister, and it's really sinister. I think it's
that
really
mask. Cool. I mean, this is what I thought initially, but that mask doesn't exist anywhere else but the movie, right? Like the mask isn't for anything.
No.
It's just
Okay, yeah.
original.
So when you see like a close up of it, like my mind was just like, someone made this mask. Someone designed this for this movie, which is like crazy. You know, like they
Yeah.
didn't pull it from something. They didn't. It was like that was insane.
Well, I guess their idea was that Frank basically wanted, like, he's a bit of a, like, they kind of imply it that he made the mask for Halloween, like it's kind of just his OC character or
Oh,
whatever.
okay,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah. So he created the mask for Halloween. So that's kind of the vibe that they went for, is like trying to put themselves in like an edgy kid making a mask for Halloween for themselves, and that's why it looks like that. Basically, is it's just a kid trying to make a scary mask for Halloween.
Yeah.
That's how they came up
Because
because
he
it
did it,
kind of
yeah.
looks.
who is
It's
Frank?
kinda-
Though? Like, let's talk about Frank for a minute. What's going on with Frank?
Well, do we want to get it? Because this is a
I
real
mean, this
like
is the show.
mind-bending movie.
Touch it.
Like I feel
we can
like
touch on it.
yeah. So Barbie, I wanted to ask you, what is your understanding of this film? Like, how do you, like, have you done a lot of like reading about what it's about, and like, you know, what's your understanding of how this film works and what's actually happening?
Oh yeah. I've done a good amount of research on it. Essentially, I studied the whole. You've probably heard of these theories as well as like the manipulated living, the tangent universe,
Oh, wow.
and what I think is happening is I feel like essentially Donnie needs to be sacrificed, right, for the world to return back to normal. And you see Donnie's depression, his sadness overall throughout the whole movie, being shown as he kind of goes between these two worlds, these two universes, and because his biggest fear, of course, is dying alone, which is what I believe Roberta Sparrow whispered to him. Right, was that every living creature, person dies alone.
Yeah.
That was alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he then finds love, of course, with Gretchen. Becomes more attached to this universe, and I think that the teachers, especially, play a role in guiding Donnie to his destiny. And something that really stuck out to me was when he was talking to the science teacher. He asked him,
Noah Wiley's character, right? Is that Noah Wiley?
Yeah.
It is not
Yeah.
well, yeah.
it is him.
ER?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Drew
He
Barrymore, right? It says the other one.
Drew Barrymore, yes, the other teacher, exactly, his English. So essentially asks him, about essentially fate, and if we could change our fate if everything's pre-decided. And then he gets on the topic of, well, everything is pre-decided essentially if you're going through God's channel. And then that's where he says, like, I can't continue to discuss this with you anymore
Yeah.
because I'll lose my job. Right. And
Yeah.
I think that's when it clicked for Donnie that, okay, I am in God's channel and I have to do this thing, aka sacrifice myself in this, universe. And
Yeah.
I think that that's what's happening essentially. You see that we were talking about the water earlier. I believe that's some type of like conduit to time travel or travel between the universes. And
Yeah.
I think
Distortion.
essentially that he needs to die to get the world back to normal, the universe back to normal, and in this tangent universe.
And then, doesn't Drew Barrymore, they're discussing a book about anarchy, right? They have that, she gets in trouble with the principal because they're
Yes.
saying, well, the point of the short story they were talking about is like, are these bad people? Are they good people? And they're just saying that it's creative because they've altered what's currently happening. And I think that really induces Donnie to become more active participant in what he thinks is his destiny or where he's ending up, right? He starts getting physical with the hatchet at the school, with the water, and, all the things that precede that.
Exactly. And the book that she had them read involved like kids like flooding a house, right?
Yes.
So it's like she
Yes,
kind of planted
that's right,
that idea in Donnie's mind to get him
Yeah.
to do that or
Same
guide
with
him.
same with the cellar door as well.
And she makes the point because she asked the class, why did they, go into this house and do this to this old person? And they say, because they wanted to rob him. But she says, well, obviously you didn't read it because they burnt the money is the first thing they did because they were doing it just for the sake of creation, right? It was just art for them. You know, it kind of reminds me of the Strangers or one of those films too. That's kind of like the theme of that. It's like, why are you guys terrorizing these people? It's just the action. It is its own art
creation
form for them.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Funny Games is the same way, like that as
Yes.
well.
Funny Games, yeah, that's
Michael
what I'm
Hannige's,
thinking about.
Great movie.
Time coming out of this, because this is your first time watching this, because I remember watching this for the first time and just being like, what the fuck did I just watch? How did you feel coming out of this film?
Oh man. So again, I had a lot of an idea of what I thought the movie was going to be. It wasn't that, but sitting down, I had that reaction of just thinking to myself, what the hell just happened? You know, like it's like I don't like this. Like what? Like what is happening? And it's like I'm just sitting there, and the one thing, the only thing I could really say to myself about the movie was, "Damn, Jake Gyllenhaal is a fantastic actor."
Yeah,
that's
absolutely right.
That's the only thing
brilliant
I could
that they
say.
cast the brother and sister, and I can see
Yeah.
how Maggie Gyllenhaal's career blew up because she's only like 4 scenes, but she dominates those scenes. You know, she's
absolutely.
just like the camera loves her. I mean, both her and her brother are excellent actors, and they act without saying anything with their eyes and their face and the expression and the way that she's sitting on his bed and she's talking to the phone and she's kind of cooking him because you know maybe there wasn't even anybody on the phone. He's like, airplane engine fell through my brother's roof and he just got a bunch of new stuff and she's just like rolling his eyes at him.
Yeah, but the movie to me felt like as you're watching it, you're getting puzzle pieces. You know, so you're getting like one here, you're getting one there, but they're being slowly fed to you. You know, here to craft an overall picture, and at the very end, they take you get 5 puzzle pieces. At the very end, you get the remaining 6,000, and they just dump them in your lap, and they go figure it out.
And
like,
they give you an option. At one point, they say, "Oh, this is paranoid schizophrenia," and many of the symptoms that he has completely track with paranoid schizophrenia. Delusions, illusions, seeing people that aren't there. But then at the end, they get into the time traveler situation, and it begs the question: is this just Donnie's imagination still continuing to create a narrative that allows him to continue? You know, his mental condition, or is this really a time travel show and he's not schizophrenic, or is it the meds that are making him hallucinate too? You know,
we get the answer in the end, don't we? We get the answer when the actual airplane lands in his apartment and ends up.
But is that reality?
Well, the way the parents are reacting, like there's no way it couldn't be reality because he's already dead.
In some ways, I feel like that's just Donnie thinking. But recreating the scene, and I don't even know if sometimes I wonder if the original engine fell through the roof, or is that another abstraction that I don't know. It's very difficult to see the truth, and that's good because it allows you to kind of think about it and chew on it, because if they just lay it out, this is what it is, obviously, then it's not a cult classic anymore.
I think the reason why this sorry, Barbie, go ahead,
please.
Oh, sorry. I was going to also add to that at the end as well, as far as like getting the ending, which it could have all been a dream, right? But at the end, the little kid rides up to the house and he talks to Gretchen, and she's like, "Who lived there?" And he tells her, Donnie Darko. And he asks her, "Did you know him?" And she says, "No."
But she has some there's a reason why she's looking over there. It's almost like she's got deja vu, sort of. Like she's got that deja vu feeling. Yeah. Like she doesn't remember.
Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I love their relationship. There's not a ton of scenes with those two and young love, but it totally captures that 15, 16-year-olds very, very, it's built on a friendship that's more important than the relationship, but they're also like getting into romance and feelings. And I think he wrote that really well. And it's very, I thought there was a lot of funny scenes in this movie too.
Oh my God, yeah.
That saves this movie is there's so many funny lines, and like when they go to the bus stop, and there's the girl that they all make fun of, and the little girl just turns around and says hello and her name, and she just says shut up, because you can tell she's been picked on every day for like 3 years, and like she doesn't even want to begin the conversation anymore. And it's not supposed to be funny, but it's just the way that the actors perform the scene that allows it to be funny. And there's like Seth Rogen is in this doing, and the bully is creepy and very, very good. I can't recall that actor, but I think he did a wonderful job in this movie.
Absolutely.
The Seth Rogen's buddy with the knife kid.
Yeah.
That was good.
What he looks like Taylor Lautner, but I know it's too early for it to be Taylor Lautner.
He looks like Joe Jonas to me.
Joe Jonas as well. Yeah, I see that.
I didn't expect to hear Joe Jonas today. I'm
a big Jonas Brothers fan.
I can see that. I'm a Jonas head from way back.
You should meet my friend. She's a huge Jonas Brothers fan as well.
Drag her into the Discord. We can talk about it all evening. I'll put her on Ghost Monsters Live.
I saw them live. Pretty good, actually.
Did you?
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Wait, tell me about that.
What?
No, I want to hear about this. No, we're going to take a time out, chat. I don't want to hear any complaints. We're going to get back to Don. I don't need to hear about this. What is the genesis of this? I hope Flame Princess is involved.
Of course she's involved.
Yeah, of course.
She watched the show, the Jonas show they had. She liked them, and then they came to where we live, and then I was like, they're in town. Let's go see them. Do you want to go see?
That was your idea.
You're so cute. I wasn't a Jonas Brothers fan. Like that's not.
But you're so thoughtful. You knew that she would love that, and she probably wouldn't bring it up.
I said, let's go.
So you, such a sweetie,
such a sweet man.
You did it.
That was 10, 12 years ago, however long it was ago.
And that was the last time you did it.
No, we went and saw Deadpool last night. I paid for everything.
I know you guys have you guys have relationship goals. Listen, you guys are goals.
Almost 20 years.
You guys are
almost been
perfect.
20 years.
Wow,
you guys are so sweet.
A long time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
They legit put on an amazing show. Like it was like I was like, okay, they're gonna play their songs and what. It's probably one of the greatest concerts I've ever seen.
Wow.
Really?
There was fire. They were going back and forth. There was water. It was crazy. Like I was shocked.
That's surprising.
Yeah, and they're all amazing musicians too. So that was.
What was the name of the
Jonas Brothers tickets
Joe Jonas's wife in that? Wasn't that show based on? It was like a newlywed situation.
His
You guys
wife?
remember?
about-
I don't know.
what's
Flame
his
Princess
wife's
knows.
name?
Listen, this
I
is
can't
the
remember her
Joe
name.
Jonas podcast, everyone. You've tuned in just in time. We're talking about the reality years when the
He's
Jonas
not
Brothers
even in the
grew up.
movie.
It doesn't.
It's just
JC,
a guy that looks like
I
him.
have 90 minutes to fill. Please, if I'm going to
We
spend
got it.
3
We
minutes
got
on the
that
Jonas
verse somehow.
Brothers, we're going to be fine, baby. We're going to get right back on track. This is why they watch us. Don't worry.
Are you a Jonas Brothers fan, Barbie?
Yeah.
I never really got into them, but I can see. I mean, they're talented. I can see why people like them for sure.
Yeah. Camp Rock, I saw that once, and I
Never
don't
seen Camp
remember
Rock.
anything about it. Never
Maybe
seen
we
Camp
review
Rock.
Camp
Camp
Rock
Rock,
next
yeah.
week. Maybe as a punishment because you guys are so naughty and you guys were yelling at me when I didn't get the scene right before the show in the rehearsal where you're supposed to make mistakes, where it's okay to make mistakes, and then I did a good job, and you guys are going to get punished.
You know what?
That's
The
mean.
Jonas Brothers last year, I think it was last year, they played, I think their first 5 albums at Dodger Stadium, and I legit wanted to go, but
What,
I'm
the
not
whole
going.
all 5?
All
like
5 albums, yeah.
each day
Right.
or like in one?
at one time.
How many hours? Is that like 5
They're-
hours?
Their song or their albums not that long.
Oh, okay.
But still.
It like I mapped it out. It was like a little bit over 3 hours. It's not that long.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but
They
yeah.
must
Is there
have
a
cut
Blu-ray?
some-
Is it? I don't know if they filmed
I
it.
mean, we should get the Blu-ray for Christmas for you, and they'll, is it live from Dodger Stadium? I mean, that's
It's
a
live from
perfect
Dodger
gift for a Dodger head.
I mean, yeah.
I call him my Dodger dog, Barbie,
Okay.
because he loves the Dodgers.
He's not coming.
He's a
Nice.
He's not
baseball
coming.
guy.
He's not
We're
coming.
just learning more about the cast and the people in the podcast and things they enjoy.
But he's not in the cast, Joe Jonas. So
But he could have been.
Like,
Is he in the
looks
sequel?
good.
Isn't he in Darko S or whatever the fuck it's
S.
called? I don't know.
Darko. We
The
need to
Swiss
watch that
Darko?
movie. I've heard that movie's terrible.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I heard it was
Richard-
terrible. Have you seen it, Barbie?
Yeah.
No, I won't go near it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
For all one, I haven't seen it either because everyone, even the guy who wrote Richard Kelly didn't have anything to do with it.
He
Didn't
disowned
write it.
Yeah.
That's so gross.
Oh.
Yeah.
That he makes something beautiful and original, and that he wanted to stand alone forever, and then the grubby studio knows it's a cult classic, and I don't know, they probably got like 7 guys to write it.
Mm.
I don't like
So
that
I want to
stuff.
hear your thoughts on this, Barbie, because last week when we talked about watching the movie, and you know, I said we're going to watch it. JC explicitly told me, "Do not watch the director's cut version."
Right.
So I didn't. Did
Yep.
you agree on that?
I 100% agree on that. I was watching the movie about a month ago, and you know, I saw the director's cut, and I said, you know what? I've never watched the director's cut. Let me give that a try. Immediately, the opening scene had different music, and it felt so weird and off. The whole vibe was off, and I just could not do it. I think I watched like 7 minutes,
Yeah.
and I had to just go back to the theatrical cut.
Regular version, yeah.
Yeah, the
What a wonderful
director's
soundtrack too, though. I mean, you
right.
touched on something, right? What did they do? Front loaded with the Gary Jules version of the Tears for Fears Mad World instead of, I think it starts with Echo and the Bunnymen,
Yes,
and
Echo
under
and
a
the
blood
director's
moon or whatever the fuck.
Killing
Under a
the
Moon.
director's cut.
Killing Moon,
Yeah,
which is a
yeah.
jam. What a
The
great,
direct
yeah.
Yeah. The director's cut replaces that with "Never Tear Us Apart" by In Excess. Which
No, that's for the high school scene when we're introducing the high school, and they have they have the cameras on dollies, and they're like going from each actor, and they're showing the interactions between.
That's what I'm
they
saying.
cut that.
No, they changed the song to In Excess's "Never Tear Us Apart."
What's the song? So what did they swap the other song with? Wasn't that, or is that a
I
different
can't
song?
remember.
Head Over Heels is
Head
the
Over
one in
Heels,
high school, right?
Tears for Fears,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, I understand. So they
Classic.
just added a song.
And the other weird stuff that the director's cut adds is they start just like throwing pages on the screen of the philosophy of time travel. Just start explaining. Basically, the movie just explains
ruining
everything.
the movie.
Pretty much,
Oh.
yeah. It's terrible.
It's cool that they used music from '88 too, and I'll just touch on this briefly. But Songs from the Big Chair was such a big album. The Tears for Fears record, it's their second album, and it just dominated that whole that song. The I don't know. It's like post neo wave. It was just a very different style compared to what was around in the mid 80s, and the Cure was around and stuff like that, and it kind of bridged the gap for the normies between the real cool bands like the Smiths and the Cure, and Tears for Fears did a good job of doing that because it was it was artistic, but it was poppy and accessible, but also very highly produced, well produced. And I'm not saying like things are overproduced, but I mean, if you listen to something like "Sowing the Seeds of Love," which is off their the album after that, it's just an amazing mix and production. So I love that they encourage that. And then Echo and the Bunnymen and some other songs from there.
That cover of Mad World that's in this film is probably like, would you say that's the more well-known version of that song? Like, I'd say
yes.
I didn't know there's another version.
Oh yeah,
no. That's what's crazy is like and that song was made specifically for Donnie Darko, like that cover, and I had no idea
it's
about
like
that.
Thumper. The original is like got a drum machine, and it's cool too. It's Tears for Fears, and I like both versions.
Yeah,
really
but
do.
this cover is probably the more famous version.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone knows that it's from Donnie Darko. Like, it was made specifically for Donnie
crazy.
Darko.
That's the thing. It's like when you're at a party and then people talk about Donnie Darko, and then somebody mentions that song, and then they go, "Oh, did you know that was Tears for Fears?" And then they go, "Oh," and it's passed around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I feel like that's like a car commercial nowadays, though. They're using that in Lexus ads or something, which is terrible.
What I really appreciate about this film, and I think is really intelligent, is like you could tell that Richard Kelly, he had the idea for this whole tangent universe thing, but he knew that like he thought that that's obviously what was interesting to him and why he made the movie, like that idea with the tangent universe and having Donnie be guided to do what he needs to do. But he realized that making the film, it wouldn't be interesting if it was just the sci-fi idea. So instead, he made it so that it was all set during like the formative moments of this troubled kid. Like, so the movie is still like a high school drama as well. as
Right.
like this sci-fi time travel film, and I think that's what really makes it work, is that even if you don't understand all the like the sci-fi stuff,
Mm-hmm.
all of the drama in the film, all of the high school drama,
Mm-hmm.
all of the like is incredibly well written, and I
Yeah,
think is what makes the film such a
it's the
cult
highlight for
classic.
me too.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Because
like
I
I feel
care
like
about
it's
the
got
characters, even though
yeah,
it's hard to care about, because adolescence, and that's when schizophrenia strikes people in puberty usually, and it makes sense that the medications are brutal that people have to take when they're under that,
mm,
because it makes them like zombies sometimes, and it's just very it's just like a horrible thing to go through, and so you're questioning it the whole time until at some point they start saying, oh well, this is probably the real truth, and maybe it is a time distortion and stuff.
mm. So the way that I think me and Barbie have different kind of views of this film, because you were kind of saying that he goes through two different universes, like throughout the film, like he walks through two different universes. The way I kind of see it is that the way I understand it is that the film starts off and something happens, we don't see it,
Right.
and that creates a tangent universe that
Exactly.
has
Well, I think I
that
agree
has
with you. I think that
yeah.
he's like he wants this like I'm like I think that he's like torn between like wanting to stay there and fulfill his
Mm,
duty. Like he's torn
yeah.
inside. Like I know I have to do this next step, but I want to also
Mm,
pursue what's going on here. So yeah, I agree. I think that the initial film when the jet engine hits his room, it shifts to the tangent universe, right?
That's a scary
yes,
scene
yes.
And then
too.
at the
That's a good
end,
jump scare,
it
right?
jumps
Because
Mm,
back,
she's
right?
coming
Or
home
it
from
jumps.
that date. Yeah,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, so the way I see it
Yeah.
is that something happened in the real universe that created the tangent universe,
Mm.
created the
Mm.
copy of the airplane engine. And for some reason, this universe is extremely unstable because it's got two jet engines in it that are identical, right? So it can't sustain it. It's like it's a weaker universe to the main timeline. And for some reason, the universe has picked Donnie Darko as the one that's going to fix it, and I don't think he has to die in the end. It just happens that he's
Oh.
happy and he stays in his bed and he dies.
Well,
What
he's
I
trying to
think is
save his girlfriend, though. Isn't
yeah,
that the
from
reason?
so they make heaps of mentions about the fact that if you're in God's channel, like he basically has the powers of a superhero. Like I remember he was talking to Frank earlier, and he's like, "How can you do that? With the water wall?" And Frank is like, "You can do it too. You can do anything, basically."
Mm-hmm.
So I think the whole point, like, is getting Donnie Darko to that hilltop and then using whatever powers that God has given to him, or God, the universe, has given him to rip off the jet engine, send it through the wormhole into the regular universe so that the tangent universe can collapse, basically. And then he just goes back home, and it rewinds back to the regular universe. So I think the last scene is like the universe that hasn't been
Oh.
broken.
Yeah, I
Like
just think
that's
he's
the
a
way
paranoid
I see it.
I
schizophrenic.
see
That's
what
all.
you're saying. The rewind. I
Yeah,
never thought about rewinding like that. Yeah.
Some
yeah,
shit's
it's
Wow,
up,
the
that's
though.
really cool.
rewind.
I like the way
Dude,
you
Yeah,
Right.
explain it. It
do you
makes
think he
makes more
knew?
sense when you explain it.
Do you think he knew
thank
he
you.
ripped off the jet engine from his mom's plane?
Yeah, I do. I think
You think
he,
so?
and
Ooh, that's a
I
good
think
point, right?
And I think the reason he does, like, there's so many things that lead him to that point. Like the fact
Mm-hmm.
that the reason why he floods the school is so that he meets the girl, meets what's her name, and then the
Gretchen.
reason
What's her
why
name?
Gretchen, played by the
Sweet
lovely
Gretch.
Jenna Malone.
She's a great
Um,
actress in this
she's
too.
a great actress.
She did
Yeah,
a wonderful job. Yeah,
she's great in Contact as well. If you've seen Contact.
yeah.
Um, but what I was going to say was, and so when she gets run over later, he has an emotional reason to want to save her, right? So he could pull the jet engine off and then rewind. So, like, basically everything
Mm.
that all the other characters do is in service of getting him to that hill and
And that doesn't mean the
and
mom
doing
dies
that.
and his sister doesn't die,
No,
because they have three other jet engines, right? Every jet has
yeah.
four engines, right? And one can fall off. And this was a real thing that
Well,
happened, except it was ice that fell through a house. But if
well,
you
they
lose a
don't,
jet engine, you can still land.
but they don't die because it reverses.
Oh, you're
The
right
only,
too. Yeah,
in the end, the only person who dies is Donnie.
true.
But I
The
think,
Christ, right? It's kind of
yeah,
like an allegory to Christianity in some way. He's a
yeah. So
martyr.
yeah, And I get the feeling that the way it works, because Frank leads him out of the house so the jet engine
Right.
doesn't land on him, right, in the first
Mm-hmm.
place.
Mm.
But he basically, like, he gets crushed by the jet engine. But it's still a bittersweet ending because he's found peace. He doesn't feel alone. He's laughing in his bed, you know? He feels like he's served his purpose. He
Manic.
feels like, yeah, yeah.
But
And I think it's a really good ending.
if the jet engine is the correction of the tangent universe to the prime universe, then why did Frank lead him out of the house to begin with?
Good question. That's
Because that's a different. It's a different jet engine. It's a different jet engine. So the one at the end is a different jet engine to the one at the start. Like, the way I understand it is that he had to make...
It's an alternate
like,
reality, right? So
yeah,
you think
yeah.
about reality, everything's happening at the same time. So in one world, JC is the president of Pakistan. In one universe, it's true. It's just true. And so everything's happening simultaneously, and what you experience is dependent on, space-time fabric. And that's why they have this temporal distortion explaining that space-time fabric is like if you take a towel and you put a orb on it and it weighs it down, and that's more a good way to think about time and space. Like, time space is one thing. It's not time and space. It's one thing. And I think Richard Kelly's trying to explore that. This is around the time like Stephen Hawking's books were coming out and people were thinking about physics.
I read that book, by the way. The book that was on the table.
Yeah, you have a physics background.
Time.
Everyone chat. My guy has a physics background, so please, and he's a film director, so please, he's a very serious guy, and he knows stuff. And am I explaining it good? Am I explaining it well, JC? Or, I know.
I think you're doing a good job. Yeah.
And you
I think that's what you're trying to say. Wormhole stuff. You know, wormholes. Like, a wormhole goes through. Like, if you fold the towel, it goes through one end and then it gets on the other side. Instead of going, if you stretch the towel out, it's a long distance from one end of the towel to the other. So a wormhole folds it together, and then you can just go through that and then be on the other side of the towel. Essentially, is that what's going
on? Yeah, that's pretty much exactly right.
So I think that's what they're trying to say.
Yeah. He sends the jet engine back. Frank moves him out so he could do that. It's a time loop, right? So he's trying to fix the regular universe, but sorry about that. So he's sending it back to the past so he can fix the regular universe for whatever reason, or collapse the.
There should be an infinite amount of listen in the multiverse. There's infinite amount of things, and in one possibility, some of the things happen, and like 80 out of 81 things happen, and some 79 out of 81 things happen. And so all of those things, I mean, if he had that space-time power, he could totally recalibrate it such that, whatever he wants to happen. I mean, theoretically, I guess.
I feel like he ran out of time. He didn't realize what was happening until too late. And that's the only option he really had was the jet engine. I mean, he realized that's what they wanted him to do as well. But there's so many things that lead to that exact point, like the fact that the PowerPoint had Frank's name on it, and the fact that the teacher said that cellar door is the most beautiful phrase in linguistics. That leads him to know that when he's at Grandma Death's house, he should go into the cellar door, and that leads to being jumped by the two guys, and then he meets Frank.
The one thing I didn't like about this movie is the way they resolve that stuff with the knife stuff. It doesn't feel viable to me. It just was strange.
In what way?
I love the movie, but that's just one thing I think they could have done more elegantly or made it more plausible. I don't know. It just seems.
Can I also say, like, Patrick Swayze does an incredible job at being the most unlikable dude, as well as the teacher as well.
Oh,
the
yes.
conservative teacher. Yeah.
Sparkle Motion's manager.
Manager. Yeah.
It's a real
Oh,
asset
man.
to the school. She has
Oh my
activities
God.
for the kids. What are you talking about? We love her. It's so weird that they have this like motivational speaker like interacting and it's a private school, right? So, but there's like this nexus of like, what's he doing there? And it's like he's not a teacher, but he's like on the
Yeah.
campus, and like they're
Mhm.
doing these stupid like like
Fear,
games, like
love
put on the
line.
chart. It's
Yeah.
obviously that's a bad thing, and it's like there's
That's
no
meant to be gym
nuance,
class,
right?
right? It's meant to be
What's
gym
that?
class. Like she's
Oh
the
yeah,
gym
yeah.
teacher,
It's a
right?
gym.
And they're all sitting in
Yeah.
chairs watching this dumb VCR video that she's obviously just like seen at home and brought into the curriculum. I feel like Richard Kelly, and you can tell especially with Southland Tales, I feel like he had a real bone to pick with like conservative thought, like just
Oh sure.
like just
I
the
haven't seen
sort of
Southland Tells. I have
ideology.
an
really.
I
admission
haven't
to make.
seen
I haven't seen
either.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
unfortunately,
crazy, right? Because it's good.
it's I really like Southland Tales, but the problem with Southland Tales is it's unfinished. There's a whole story about it. It's an unfinished film. So basically, he was making the film, and then his producers said, "You got to show an unfinished cut at Cannes. Just show a cut at Cannes. All right,
What?
just do it. Just
so dumb.
show. I think he had like one edit done,
Like
and
having a half-finished dress at a
yeah,
wedding, right?
yeah,
It's
and he
not
showed that
appropriate.
he showed that at Cannes, and it got majorly panned, like
Oh,
just
sure.
absolutely ripped into. And then after that screening, the producers pulled all of the funding from the film afterwards, so he had to self-finance to finish it, but it's still unfinished. Like you can
And
watch
then
it and see the kind of vision that he was going for, but it's
and
just
he's trying to
not
make
finished.
a real sequel to Donnie Darko that I read as well, and that's been in like production. It's been like 5 years they've been working on that thing, so I don't know what's going
pretty
on
much
with that.
since the box he's been in filmmaker jail, essentially.
What's going on with that? Why isn't? I mean, he only has 3 films. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, they've all been bombs, basically. I mean, Donnie Darko
Yeah,
was
but
a
still,
hit,
there's a lot of bombers out here
unfortunately.
making films on a regular basis. With Netflix, and you can get on
Yeah.
Paramount Plus with whatever you want. Like if I was a
Right.
filmmaker in this environment, I would be happy if anybody showed my film, because then I get to say what I wanted to say. So I'm surprised. I don't know what's going on. With
It's
him.
been really rough for him. What was I going to say? He also, after the box and what's it called? Southland Tales and Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
He also wrote Tony Scott's Domino, which is based on bounty hunter Domino. I think Domino Harvey is her name. It has
What year did that come out?
Let's have a look.
Is that the one with Keira Knightley?
Keira Knightley.
What?
That's right.
I mean, what era? I mean, what decade? I've never heard of that movie. That's so crazy.
Yeah, Keira Knightley, 2005.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
And then
that's
he just
written
took 20
by
years off.
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
My
Yeah.
huge criticism of Sparkle Motion is I only have 2 dance moves and they stole one of them.
Watch your
It
mouth.
pisses me off.
Listen.
what, this one?
No,
Motion
it's
went
very
to
no
Ed McMahon's
Star Search.
Star Search, and they placed. Okay, they did very fine. It brought the mother and the daughter together. They're on the plane, and they're like, "Oh, we're cozy and
But they
comforting."
stole
and
my
then
move.
Donnie,
That little
What's
girl
the
stole
move?
my move.
What move?
which one?
Which
I'll show you.
one?
I'll show you. I'll show you.
All right, perfect. Okay, take your shirt off if you want to get loose.
I'm not taking my shirt off.
Well, you can move better with no shirt. I've illustrated that. Remember the
wanna see this.
Scarface podcast?
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It's real quick. All right.
Okay.
So they do something to proceed to it, and they do that. Then she does this.
He's frozen for me.
Like that.
Yeah, that's my move too.
That's my move. That's my move. I have this, and then
That's the Humpty
Yes.
Dump.
that's it. That's all I got. And she stole one
Oh,
of them.
that's what is that? Is that a nene? What is that move actually?
I
don't know
missed
if
it.
explore
Both.
that.
Oh, I see. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
It's like
Stole both of them.
it's like the
It's weird because this
proto-
high school has
floss.
kids. They seem too young to be at the high school. I
Exactly.
feel like it's like I was watching this movie. I'm like, are these kids like 11? It's like in there because is that a private school thing? Because they're like middle school and high school. It could be.
Yeah, maybe it's a combined.
At the very beginning, when they first get to the bus stop, the little sister shows up, and she talks to that older girl, and the older girl's like, tell me everything that happened. And I'm like, she's in 10 grades higher than
know.
you. Why are you talking
She's
to
like
her?
11 and she's like 27.
Yeah.
And the way they delivered the line, it was like she's
Well,
been
It
around.
was
She
crazy.
knows,
Yeah.
I
she knows
Like,
things
that's
young
friends or
people
something.
shouldn't know.
like in that scene, I thought they were the same age. I thought they were the same year, and she
No,
was
they
just
look
taller.
same age
But
at
then,
all.
but then she was in Donnie's class. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
she's Donnie's age? What? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
wild.
maybe he's trying to say something with it. I'm not sure.
So I did this after the movie, and I don't know if it's frowned upon by you guys.
I mean,
So after I watched it, of course, confused as hell, I immediately went to YouTube and I typed in, or I did
I don't
the
blame him
Donnie
for that.
Donnie
Darko
Darko
explained.
I don't blame him for
Yeah,
that.
the amount of
Yeah.
videos I found that were just pure horse shit and just not getting to the point
Yeah.
drove me crazy.
Open interpretation on purpose. It's like an album, right?
No,
It's
like
like
bad. It was
Yeah.
like
what
bad.
what is this album about, right? But then you have all these people who like go to the lyrics section.
Mhm.
You know, you used to have
No,
like
no,
A to Z,
no,
and they
this
would
is, like,
explain
explained
the meaning.
really
It's totally
bad.
fucking. They're just projecting. They're just
But
projecting.
I
their
found
shit.
one.
Donnie Darko had a website.
Yeah, I found one, and they mentioned a couple things, and Barbie said it earlier, something about the living. What was it again? You said
Yeah,
Don't
there's
die alone.
I can't remember what I said earlier.
Being
But there's
dying
a
alone, I think you
there's a really good
mentioned.
No.
website which I'm pretty sure JC you might know, the Donnie Darko dot like UK
Yes.
.org or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one explains it really well about the
It's
manipulate living and whatnot.
manipulated living.
It's
That's what it was. Yeah.
it's not a secure
Manipulated
website. I'll tell you
living.
that.
Interesting.
It's my computer's telling me it's
Because it is a
not secure.
suburban tale, right? It's set in suburbs for a reason. And what does the suburbs represent? It represents people homogenized and placed in tiny little boxes in a row. Everyone has basically the same kind of house and layout. Every kid has the same haircut. The pants are the same, and they're in a private school, which reinforces that idea because they're actually in uniforms, right?
Yeah.
The Donnie's two, cooler friends are like, they jazz it up a little bit and unbutton stuff and have cool hairstyles and stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of like you're just fighting against the giant grind of the mill. You're still going to be ground into the society and collected and redistributed into the workforce, and everything's pre-planned. So I could see that he's making a statement against that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Donnie Darko, the whole film, dramatically is trying to break out of this mold that the world is trying to force upon him. Like the whole fear and love spectrum thing is a ridiculous binary that they're trying to force emotions into. It's very it's almost, I don't want to say fascist, but it's kind of fascist. But what I wanted to say is that I like that also the whole sci-fi aspect of the plot as well is also about him, trying, like he's fighting against that path that the world is forcing him into, basically. So not only is the universe,
Hero, right?
not only is the universe forcing him into this role, but also just in his daily dramatic life, it is too. It's like it's a great parallel. And I'm just. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Richard Kelly. I really wish he got.
Sometimes I just think Richard Kelly wants people to say, "Oh, he's just paranoid schizophrenic," and all this stuff is all your projection, and all of the meaning that you want to have in this is not true because he's just hallucinating. I think that can be one interpretation, but I'm not sure.
Absolutely,
I don't know.
Yeah. Time, what was your idea of the movie before you, like before and after? I guess you found a YouTube video. Did you find one that you liked that had a good interpretation?
I did. I found one, and it brought up the manipulated living and the manipulated dead also.
Yeah. What was your opinion, I guess, before the video and then like after the video?
So before the video, I didn't understand anything. I mean, I understand the whole like that there was some type of time travel thing, but that's pretty much all I could kind of get from that. Yeah, I was really confused and kind of lost, and then I watched the video, and after I saw the video, everything just kind of started clicking into place. Again, it was like the whole like I have 6,000 puzzle pieces, I don't know what to do, and now all of a sudden they're just
like a cue drop.
Yeah, like a Q drop. Yes.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation. It's a Rorschach test,
and they
artists
were
do this
all
all the time.
they all fit in. It was great. The weird thing for me is these last 3 days I've been watching things, coincidentally too, weirdly, that have been filled with time travel, Christ-like figures,
Yeah.
Whoa.
and alternate realities. So
That's a
I'm watching.
schizophrenic's playbook. Those three
So-
things: the Jesus complex, time
Yeah.
travel, and I have a secret mission, and there's paranoia.
So
and
the
these are
first
all
thing
things. Yeah.
is I'm in the middle of a 6-hour video on the final season of Lost because I love Lost. So like I'm watching that, and that's time travel and religious
Yeah, I
things,
still
whatever.
haven't started that yet. I want to.
You
I
gotta
heard it's
start it.
good.
It's so good. It's so
Okay.
fucking good. The second thing was Deadpool.
Oh,
You know,
yay. Yeah, of
Marvel
course.
Jesus,
Yeah.
the timeline.
Yes.
Not to spoil it, but yeah, that whole thing. So that was crazy. And then Donnie Darko, and I was like, this is
Wow.
weird.
What is going on?
But yeah,
Yeah.
the after I watched that, then that whole thing, the whole time travel thing kind of clicked, because it was like, to me, and I feel like it's the same way for JC and Barbie. I understand it the same way, but a little different. So like it's like I'm talking through it, but then it doesn't make sense, but then it kind of makes sense. So for some reason, Frank let him out of the house, and once that happened, that created a separate timeline. But the prime timeline never stopped moving. It just got stuck there. And then we have the alternate reality, and then he goes through everything like that. And then once he sends the jet engine back to his house in the past, or sorry, he sends it to the original timeline and kills him, which erases the alternate timeline and continues on the prime timeline.
Oh my god!
Right,
I
right,
don't think
exactly.
That's right. Yes.
So I don't
Sounds
think
like
it
a
gets
plus. Right.
rewound or anything like that.
Or
I think
anything,
it
yeah.
just
Can I
went
ask a
back into
question?
it. Which,
You all
hold on,
guys
hold on,
understand?
hold on.
I'm sorry. Please continue cooking. Go ahead.
Listen.
I'll save my question.
Alternate timelines are like my favorite thing ever because I believe in alternate timelines, and I believe that is the
Like
reason.
phase shifting. Like
Kind of.
you're on one multiverse, and then you get like for reason you like skip a track,
You could,
and like
yeah.
in the other
Yeah.
multiverse.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I hear this a lot.
I think that's the reason for ghosts.
I
Oh
think,
shit!
I also
I don't think ghosts are dead people walking around. I think we're just seeing something else because our universes are so like paper thin and like malleable that we're seeing just flashes of a different universe essentially.
Magnetic. A lot of people
once I
say
got
it's like
this whole
magnetism.
yeah,
Like it's like the trace of the image is like the magnetism left from the electrical system that's part of the human body.
yeah. So this movie for me was very confusing at first, and it was good. It was a good movie, and then I watched that explanation, and it immediately spiked up my love of it right away to where I'm like, this movie is amazing.
Do you like Inception?
I love Inception. Yeah, that's a great movie.
I don't know. Inception is so naughty. Like I mean, like a not like naughty, like a naughty and nice. It's just like
It's a lot.
that other movie he made after the Dark Knight trilogy. Tenet. Oh, Jesus.
That movie's good.
You
Terrible
fuck with
sound
Tenet?
mixing. Terrible
I don't
sound mixing, but it's
understand
good.
what I listen.
good.
I understand a lot of this stuff, but he makes it very difficult on purpose. I think, which is good because it makes you work at it, and you should go look shit up, and you should learn. What are we talking about, and what can, and at some level, get introduced to it. And I think he's trying to spark that.
So with your explanation, the only thing I disagree with is I don't think it's Frank leading him out that created the tangent universe. Something else happened that we don't see, and because of that, Frank leads him out to get him to fix the universe. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
What is Frank? If Frank is a real thing, is he like a demon of the fall, or is he just? I mean, is he a? He's an agent. Is he an angel of God, or what? What is? If he's not a psych, to me, I think he's a hallucination. And if he's not a hallucination, what is he? What is it?
No, the way I see it is that the universe picks a bunch of people to have a bunch of roles to get Donnie to the end, right? And Frank just happened to be some kid that made a Halloween costume on Halloween, and they picked him to be what did you call it? Time
That was the
something
manipulated dead.
manipulated dead, which allowed him to go back and talk to Donnie in the past to get him to do everything that he needed to do.
So
basically,
if we
so
have
he
these,
died in the future, but he went back in the past, basically,
Okay.
to talk to Donnie. That's the
Is that
way
your
I see
understanding,
it.
Barbie? Fair enough.
That's the way I understand Frank. He got because he got shot later, and Donnie didn't know, but Donnie shot him later, and he takes his mask off earlier in the film, and he has a gunshot wound. Like, so he's already dead.
He asked
But
him
he's
in the
just gone
movie
back.
theater when she's asleep and he's like smiling and he's going through like a mania and he's like, take the costume off or something. And then what does Frank say? Like, you know the reason why? You've always known the reason or something like that. I forgot. But it gives a little clue.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remember him saying
the
like,
way I
yeah, take off the silly mask or stupid mask. And he said like, or he's like, why do you wear that silly mask or something? And then
he's like, why are you wearing
Frank's like,
that silly bunny mask?
Right.
and then he's like, and then Frank's like, why do you wear that silly man suit to Donnie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the
skin or
thing. And so
yeah,
that's
this
existentialism, right? Because that's another vein that he goes through which is existentialism, right? And that means you're putting meaning into. Oh God, how do I explain existentialism, JC? You wanted to go stab at that? I don't even know where to begin.
Well, it's all about questioning your reality and whether your reality is true or
the
not.
nature of reality, right?
Nature of reality. Yeah, I think therefore I am. That's a very existential.
Let's get Wikipedia on this real quick. A family of views and forms a philosophical inquiry that explores issues of human existence.
That's right.
Meaning, purpose. What's the meaning of life? What's the value of human experience? Why do we suffer? Why do children get cancer? Why do horrible things happen to puppies? It's like it's not religion. It's a scientific way to examine the same questions that theology just says this is the answer and that's it. It says, okay, let's probe this forever and stuff. So yeah,
we're gonna have a lot of when we talk about Southland Tales as well. It's going to be a lot of discussions like that again. Southland Tales to me, because Southland Tales is it's like Donnie Darko, but it's more over exaggerated, and also it's all about the Bush era of United States politics, and it's basically Richard Kelly.
HW or W. Bush? Which one? Post Iraq.
Post Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah, W. Bush. And it's basically his attempt to predict what's going to happen in the future, but in a very exaggerated way.
Is it in the same universe? I mean, that's always how they always sold it. And I thought that was unfair because it seemed to be its own thing. And they were like, oh, it's, Donnie Darko 2 is what they tried to market it like a ham-handed way.
It's not. It's his own magnum opus story that he tried to make, but they didn't let him finish it. But it's still
didn't work for 20 years. Does he write it in the meantime? Is he writing novels or what is he doing with his day? I'm getting worried about Richard. Does he want a Twitch show? Because I'm making a Twitch show every week. I have a new show. I have 4 channels now. We can get him a show. I got him a Donnie Darko Twitch channel.
There's something I heard in the director's cut, and I wonder if it changes your guys' thoughts on Donnie's character and the way he acts. But apparently in the director's cut, when he's talking to his therapist, the therapist tells him that the pills he's taking are placebos. They're not real.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
And then why is she having him in trances and doing the
the regressive therapy thing, whatever?
Hypnotizing?
No actual shrink would do that.
They don't do that, especially with someone they think is schizophrenic. They give you lithium, and it's like a horror. But is he imagining that though? I don't think so because the mother says, your sister's going to take you, so everyone knows it's. And then they meet the mom and dad meet her. Yeah, Barbie, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's a hypnotherapy. No. It's a real therapy. I think with this taking place in California, there's a lot of themes that Richard Kelly's bringing to light. I think that with Jim Cunningham, one of those is motivational speakers, right? And then also, of course, with him getting exposed at the end for being a
Pedophile.
predator,
Mhm.
pedophile.
Mhm.
I think that he kind of shows us that fancy like people and religions or motivational speakers, you don't have to trust
Bullshit.
them. Yeah,
Bullshit
exactly.
artist.
They can be full of
Yeah.
crap, right? And then also
Mm.
he also shows us hypnotherapy, and I think that these are two things that were kind of like new age science that he's trying
Yeah.
to, I guess, give us a little bit of
I,
insight on or
I
use.
Before
so
cognitive behavioral therapy became the mode du jour for like people who want to quit smoking, people afraid to
yeah.
fly, which is essentially slowly facing whatever your fear is, like over
Mm.
time. They used to use hypnotherapy for stuff like this a lot,
Was
right? But
hypnotherapy
it's
common
weird
in the
that they're
80s?
doing it with someone they thinks schizophrenic, because
Yeah.
theoretically there's it's interesting. It's interesting.
Mm.
Mhm.
But if the pills that she's given him aren't real, does that change your view of her treatment on him, or no?
Oh God, this is the worst thing. It's not unethical. It's not like that's crazy.
Yeah. I
Mm,
think that does change a lot.
mm.
If you do that, you go
I
right
don't
to
know if in a
prison.
good way. I don't know if it's
No,
in a good way, but I'd prefer the question of are they real or not
yeah,
rather than
I
having the
think he wants
answer.
you to. It's an existentialism film, so they want you to question the meaning of life, the meaning of the suburbs,
Mm.
the meaning of hypnotherapy, the meaning of everything. Right.
Right.
Mm. Mm.
So I think that works with it because it allows you to explore the themes and not say, "Oh, this is the answer. This is the question. This is the answer." Because that's not art. Art is here's a bunch of questions. Go fucking figure it out and do
Hmm.
art about it and make more
Mm.
art. That's what it should be, and I think that's what they did.
Yeah,
Richard Kelly did.
absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish he made more films.
I'm going to get
We'll
him
see.
back working. I'm going to call. Maybe even get him on the podcast. He seems to have a lot of free time.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of filmmakers like this. Like we were talking about coherence, like
He
James
could have
Ward Burkett.
substance. He could have
Um,
substance abuse problems. He could have a mental illness of his own that isn't public. Of all, there's things that people have medical issues too, right? So
yeah,
I don't want to listen. Chat.
So
I
you're
don't
saying
want to
he could
what
be
you're
like
saying.
Grandma Death right now,
Mm.
essentially.
I mean, he could be a schizophrenic
Checking
too.
her box every
Maybe
day.
maybe Richard Kelly
Yeah.
is a schizophrenic, and this is why he was exploring his own condition. And maybe I don't know. It's just I'm just guessing. Who knows?
what I want to say though is that there's this weird trend in Hollywood where like a small director will make like this hit small budget sci-fi film like this, like Donnie Darko, and I
Hmm.
wanted to say like Coherence,
Yeah.
and then there's also a great time travel film called Primer, which is directed by Shane Carruth, and after that they basically make maybe one or two films afterwards, and then nothing after that for ages. It's a weird trend that happens. Like they just get blocked off from Hollywood after making their little sleeper hit.
Because Hollywood
Um,
wants to cover up the time travel conspiracy, and if you make a film about it, they're going to shut you
Yeah.
down. And we
'Cause
already know
one
this
day
from the
they're gonna
drop.
get right on it. They're getting close. They're gonna make a movie that's like dead on what time travel
yeah.
is.
Yeah. So, Time, if you want another movie that's like this, where you finish and you go, "What the fuck just happened?" and then you go and do some research on it, and then it makes more sense afterwards after you watch some videos and stuff. Another great one is Primer.
Primer.
Highly
Okay.
recommend it.
How about
Yeah,
being John
Primer.
Malkovich? I think being John Malkovich fits in this vein too, because that's an existential
yeah.
film too.
Yeah. That
And
one's
it's
great.
very many of the same themes. Or Schenectady, New York, which is a film about a man who's recreating the entire city of Schenectady, New York in a scale model, like very detailed. And the whole film
No,
is
no, no.
him
Hold
creating
on.
it. Or is
Hold on.
that wrong?
You're
Or
thinking
what
of
film is that?
You're thinking of Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah, that's what I said. Schenectady.
No, you said you were talking about you said being John Malkovich.
And then I said also Schenectady, New York, both films. In
Oh,
addition.
okay. Are you
Yeah.
saying it right? You're saying Schenectady.
Schenectady.
It's
Yeah.
I'm
it's
literally, my family's literally from New York.
Schenectady.
It's Schenectady.
It's
That's how you pronounce
Schenectady.
it.
Yeah.
There's no C after
I'm
S.
just
That makes
telling you the way
anyway,
they
whatever.
say it here. Look at
It's
Melbourne.
freedom.
There's a
Listen,
Y.
Nate.
Melbourne.
Look at
Melbourne.
Melbourne. This is no. It's just be
Melbourne.
MELBNON. If Melbourne is the way it's, you know what I'm saying,
It's not a
Jason?
replacement.
Yeah, I
word.
You
know.
come
It
for
doesn't
me, and
exist.
you're
Got
gonna
a
get caught
point.
up. So
Yeah.
You
we're
got
out
me.
here,
You got
Barbie.
me.
We're out here, keep
I
regulating.
mean, I was
Yeah.
just going to recommend a movie that kind of makes you think, not in the same vein exactly, but another Gyllenhaal film, Enemy, of course.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
that one.
Big recommend Enemy. That's
Yeah.
So that was during. So Denis Villeneuve, who we all know now, has made Dune. At the time, he was making two films. He made Sicario in 2013, and at the same time, he also made Enemy, which is a smaller film with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's a really interesting movie. Really good.
Gyllenhaals are always in good movies. I remember recently Maggie Gyllenhaal was in this amazing film where she's a kindergarten teacher and she like kidnaps one of the kids in her care, and it's such a good movie, and it's just her and the child actor and the whole thing, and it's such a good movie. They're just really amazing natural actors. They just get it from the jump. And you know, they just have very good sensibilities about picking scripts and stuff too.
Right. I felt that way for a long time with Jake Gyllenhaal. I stood behind that he always picked really great scripts. And then there was that recent Netflix movie where he was a 911 operator, and then I had to let go of that idea, you know.
He must have got in trouble with the
That was a
IRS or
Michael Bay
something,
movie, wasn't it?
He needed a paycheck.
Yeah, I can't recall
Taylor
what
Swift
it was.
ran
But
him
it
through
was,
the media. This is what happened to Jake.
I think it was,
Taylor
yeah.
Swift made videos about their relationship,
Oh.
and people were like off Jake Gyllenhaal, and then he couldn't get work anymore, man.
Wasn't that
didn't
whole
know.
like that 10-minute song she
That
made?
short
that
film
was about him.
that she made about like the boyfriend coming to meet her dad, and she's singing like, "You met my dad, and then you fucked me over." That's all about Jake Gyllenhaal.
That 10-minute song that she wrote is about him.
Yeah.
Flame said there's a show called Presume Innocence with him. That's pretty good.
I heard
Apparently,
about that.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's on Apple
Yeah.
TV
Apple.
Plus.
My brother said
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah. All right.
we've all seen
for
Nightcrawler,
me-
right?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
going to say
Okay.
for me
Good
his
one.
best performance
He's
is
a
in
banger.
Nightcrawler.
I love that.
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
and
it's got
Zodiac.
the best chase scene of all time.
Zodiac.
Zodiac.
Zodiac's fantastic.
Yeah.
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 I want to.
What about the Maggie Gyllenhaal movie where she's dating the old drunken cowboy, and like they adopt the daughter, and like he almost loses the daughter in the shopping mall? Have you guys seen that one? Wild
No.
Heart. It was nominated for
Oh,
Oscars,
that's,
and it won Ted or no, what's his name? The guy who's in
what's his
the
name?
dude.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff
dude, Jeff
Bridges.
Bridges.
And
Oh,
see
yeah.
that movie. That movie's a banger.
I want to watch that.
That's a great banger. Yeah. Wonderful
And I
actress.
want to also say that Maggie Gyllenhaal has
Prisoners, yes.
recently she's basically shown her chops as a director as well. She made this incredible film with Olivia Colman called The Lost Daughter.
I haven't seen it.
It's fantastic. It has Olivia Colman, Dakota Johnson, and
Okay.
Jessie Buckley. It's basically about a woman that she had a really difficult marriage earlier in her years, and they broke up, and she's basically by herself, and she's gone on holidays, and she meets up with this. Not meets up, but she meets this woman who basically has a perfect life, and she becomes very jealous of her, and it's a really interesting movie.
She's so good at being vulnerable. Maggie Gyllenhaal is strong but vulnerable at the same time, and it always comes through in her scenes. Like, I don't know how she does it. It's just like she just knows how to do it. You know?
Yeah, so she's shown herself to be a really good director. I think her next film is a Bride of Frankenstein film. So we'll see what she does with that one as well.
And the chat's mentioning Jake Gyllenhaal in Prisoners, which was a really good movie too. About
I
revenge.
mean,
Yeah,
Everyone
I've
the one
seen
where he
that
like traps the dude in the wall or something like that, or like it's a revenge story.
I'm not a fan of Prisoners, but
How was
Oh.
Well, you're gonna fight with the chat then.
He was in-
You
I'll
log
fight with
off,
the
chat.
He was in that cop movie, right? End of Watch or something.
End of Watch, yeah.
Let's
He was good in
pull
that.
out the whole
Was he?
Jake
Really
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, he's
library.
really raw in
Brokeback
that
Mountain.
film. Brutal.
That was a
Listen,
good one.
Brokeback Mountain was a banger.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
Brokeback Mountain is a great film, and it doesn't matter what it's about. And the director was the same guy who directed The Hulk and
Ang Lee,
Crouching
yeah.
Tiger.
Crouching
great
Tiger,
movie.
yeah. He and Life of Pi as well. Heath Ledger always gets all the, the praise for that film, but Jake Gyllenhaal's fantastic in it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Heath Ledger.
Oh, what about
couple
Michelle
of
Williams?
dudes being bros,
who's great in that movie is Michelle Williams as the husband of Jake Gyllenhaal.
As the husband, yes, as the husband.
Or the wife, or that's her husband, etc. Blah blah blah. She won Best Actress, I think, for that.
Did she?
Yeah,
Michelle Williams.
I think so.
Yeah.
She was
Not
she's
familiar.
in that show Dawson's Creek.
She's
Oh.
in
Child actor, And then
Wasn't that
she's
a
been in a
Destiny's
lot of.
Child?
It's another one. That's
Same
disambiguation
name,
for it. But this
right?
is a different, same name,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
But this is
She's
different people.
Different?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
she's from the Oscar-nominated film Venom. We love that film.
Yeah.
Venom. What's going on?
She's in a movie with Ryan Gosling. I don't remember what it's called.
Perfect.
And she was
Drive?
also really good in
No,
oh,
it wasn't Drive.
no,
Notebook?
that was a different actress.
Mm.
She's really good in
Blue
The
Valentine.
Fable-
That's what it is. Blue Valentine.
Oh,
Thank you,
okay.
fine. Blue Valentine.
Yeah, she's really good in The Fablemans as well, which is Steven Spielberg's autobiography. But what I wanted to say is I've forgotten.
Great.
So
No worries.
Oh, sure.
What I wanted to add too is that in Donnie Darko, outside of like the amazing soundtrack that they have with like songs that we all kind of recognize,
Oh,
or there's
course.
also that like in between music that's very like Minecrafty and like graceful, and it like stitches like
The
movie scenes
incidental.
really
yeah.
well together.
Mm.
Listening to it
It's
nowadays
so
after
good.
playing Minecraft, I'm like, this sounds like Minecraft soundtrack. It's really good.
It's a good vibe.
It's
It's
a really
like
good
almost
vibe.
proto dark wave in some ways. It's not really doesn't have the same dark wave BPMs and stuff like that, but it's very cool synth washes, and it kind of you could be a Vangelis from Blade Runner soundtrack in some sections, and yeah, I think it's gorgeous. I think the whole soundtrack. The first thing I did is I uploaded the soundtrack to our Discord so everyone could enjoy that, the incidental music, and as well as the, the original, not the original, but the Tears for Fears and all that stuff. And also the original website is available on the Internet Archive so people can see how they marketed it back in
Yeah.
2001. And they still have the same thing. You can click it and go through all the things. So that's on the Discord.
The
Cool.
soundtrack is by Michael Andrews, but what's really interesting is you look at his filmography. That was basically his first soundtrack that he did, and then after that, he basically just started working with Judd Apatow, and he became the go-to Judd Apatow.
Seth Rogen got
composer.
involved with Apatow.
Yeah,
I
maybe,
wonder
yeah,
if there's
Seth
a
Rogen,
connection
yeah.
between that.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. That's really interesting. Just looking at his filmography, but
It's
after
vibes.
all
This movie has vibes. That's another
It's
thing.
got
It's got a
vibes.
world. It's a very particular set of choices, and it doesn't feel like any other movie.
No,
Like,
it doesn't.
you can watch a James Bond movie and a Mission Impossible movie and say, okay, there's a little difference, but we're still doing spy stuff. But this is like its own,
Yeah.
because it plays with that existentialism and the fact that, is this a dream? Is this reality?
Yeah, it's the kind of film that I'd inspire to make something like some not like Donnie Darko, but like something this kind of genre pushing. I'd want to make something like
It's like
this.
a dark comedy, but it's also very sinister,
Yeah, it's very inspiring to me. And I really wish Richard Kelly got better treatment in Hollywood. But
Maybe he's an asshole. You never know. Maybe he deserves what he's getting. You don't know.
Maybe he
I don't
is.
know. I'll make some
Maybe
calls.
he
We'll
is.
find out.
But-
Don't worry. We're going to find
but
out.
Call around.
I
Yeah.
just mean from
I'm
his
gonna call
talent, based on his talent, I wish he got better.
I didn't realize he
treatment.
didn't make
Yeah.
any other films after that. That's really interesting.
Right,
I'm gonna have
Prag.
to dig in there.
I was thinking about that too. Before today, I was like, I don't remember if I know any of his films. And then I looked him up and I was like, okay, I know The Box, but there's only like, a couple more? That's it. Yeah.
Southland.
So
Terrace
Richard, if
was
you're in the
his-
chat, let us know in the chat, or you can call me on my 1-800 number and we can talk about it live. But, we're
For some
sorry
reason,
about you, Richard.
I was getting him confused with I don't know if he's a writer or producer, the David Kelly.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Did,
getting confused. Yeah.
Boston Legal,
Boston
and
Legal, yeah.
the medical shows, and God, he was huge for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So, Time, would you recommend Donnie Darko, and what would you rate it?
I would recommend it, but I would do the caveat of it's confusing, but it's good. And I would rate it an 88.
Oh, that's a good, yes.
shit.
88.
Very
Wow.
smart.
He's never given
Very
an
smart.
88. You didn't even give Tron an 88. Tron
didn't.
Legacy.
This
Did
is-
you?
didn't.
I think this is his
I
highest
didn't.
rating.
Is
so
this your
far,
favorite film of all time?
No, it's not of
Is
all
this
time. No,
new?
no.
Okay, I'm just
no.
asking some questions. I'm trying to get in
No.
there.
Still Scott Pilgrim.
I think he
Okay,
gave
facts.
Scarface a higher rating, but
Yeah.
yeah. what was I going to say? Would you recommend people go in blind, or would you recommend people look into Donnie Darko before they watch it?
If I mean, it's a movie that I think is so like known to people. I don't know how I went in blind and didn't know like any little part of it at all. But if they could, I mean that'd be great. It was it was cool experiencing all the the oh man, this and this and this, and then watching that video and pausing and then turning to Flame and being like, so this means this and this means this and this means this, right? And her looking at me like I'm a psychopath, going, uh-huh,
You're that Charlie Day meme, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Flame, he's just a schizophrenic. There's nothing
I'm just
to know.
schizophrenic.
It's
Yeah.
no problem, Flame. Don't listen.
I mean, after 20 years, she has to know.
Joking,
She has to. But yeah,
Prag, would you recommend Donnie Darko? What would you rate it?
Oh yeah, I love this movie for a young adult who's really getting into thinking about literature and art in a different and more profound way and expanding their mind. Like maybe they've never thought about stories like this with existentialism, and it's very accessible in some ways, and it's also naughty enough. And I mean, not naughty or nice, but as far as you can get lost in it, and you can like, I mean, I think about teens and stuff that you could just sit with this movie and there's cool art and you can like create the art that you saw on the screen in your own form and write poetry. And I think it one of the reasons this is a cult classic is because it inspires young people to get involved in like more abstract things. And so yeah, absolutely I would probably show this in schools. I'd probably show this in high school to like freshmen.
Barbie, I know you picked this film and you love it. But would you recommend it, and what would you rate it?
Say no.
I would absolutely recommend it, and I would recommend it under certain conditions. However, I think a great way to watch it would be kind of either at dusk or dawn, like in that blue or kind of darkish
golden
phase,
time,
in the morning, or the golden hour. Yeah, but
Golden hour.
going into night.
Dusk and I love the colors. It's
and primarily, if you feel lost, hopeless, or questioning life and the meaning, definitely watch it. Another setting you could be in is like, let's say you take your laptop or phone to the bathroom, and you're in a bath or something, I don't know, or just brushing your teeth. And you want to sit in the bathroom in a dark room with just like a night light on, just somewhere where you can really reflect and take in what's going on. A lot of good questions are raised. And then also, like Prag said, I think it's, good for anyone like in high school as well. It's a good coming of age story. And it does give people like push them towards
sparks creativity.
Yeah, creativity and critical thinking and stuff. So, yeah, I give it, of course, 100.
Ooh, shit!
Right, well, that's our first 100. That's our first 100 on the channel.
I don't like many movies particularly like that much. So, yeah.
No, listen, I believe it.
I believe you too. When you were saying it's a movie that you could watch like on your tablet in the bath or something. I just realized like the vibes of this movie are very similar to American Beauty. I don't know if you guys have seen American Beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
With America's
dreamy.
Sweetheart, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. It's dreamy, right? It's like a dreamy.
Yes, ethereal.
Yeah.
I feel the same vibes thinking about that because that's a film I would put on a tablet in the bath as well. Like
I've never seen that movie either.
You gotta watch
if you want to put
Beauty,
on an album that reminds me of this movie, put on The Cure's Disintegration. I think that would be a perfect couple to this film because it's just the same vibes and mood and colors, and it's just like a dream world. And like you're crying, and you see your lover under a street light, and the light is reflecting off your tears, and so that affects the haze and the image. That's the vibe that I get from this movie.
I was feeling more the My Bloody Valentine's
MBV.
Loveless.
Yeah. I love My Bloody Valentine. The Irish band that does a lot of layering. It's called what do they call it?
Shoegaze.
Shoegaze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very like 32 levels of guitar work layered on like paint, you know. So if you're just listening to it for the first time and you don't know what they're doing, it just sounds like nonsense. But if you really listen, you can hear the layers and like the undercurrent and like the stuff is really going. I love it. It's really good. They have 2 records or something in their whole career. They're magical.
They have 3. They have 3 records.
3 is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Loveless,
so they really
right?
Loveless,
MBV, Loveless,
and then there's one more that they released like 10 years later. And
I thought that was MBV, the last one.
No, MBV they released soon after Loveless, and then there's a third one that they released much later, but I can't remember the name. They're all great.
They're really good.
They're all really good. So yeah, I would recommend this film 100%. If you're 13 years old and you wanted to, like, for me, this is a very, like, I've watched a lot of films since Donnie Darko. This to me feels like a very good entry level
to art house
film, like getting into, like, it really gets you invested.
Baby's first art house, you know, it's like get you involved, get you going. Don't make it too crazy because a lot of the films in the art house are just like impenetrable. Like if you watch a Fellini film or something, and it's not a movie made the same way other movies are made. It's made, the images are not designed to like tell a narrative or a story, but to like, you know, it's like abstract. It's much more abstract and prone to intellectualism, and it's good. It's great. It's get people started in thinking.
Do you guys think this movie has a defined interpretation, or do you think it's open?
No,
I think Richard Kelly has a very defined interpretation of the film himself. Just based on the director's cut, I think he has a very defined interpretation of the film that I don't really like, but or not that I don't like, but I just don't like the way he presents it in the director's cut. I like that it's more mysterious in this version. It's more but yeah, I give this film a 90. It's one of my favorites of all time for sure.
You didn't even get my score.
You didn't say your score.
I didn't say it. Nobody asked. So, I mean, you know, I feel like you don't
know the rules.
Know my number.
Okay. You know the rules.
Okay.
I'm giving it an 85, which is very good 85. For me because I don't give a 90 is like 100 to me because I don't think you can get to it. I think that's like the traveling at the speed of light. You're going to blow up. You're going to compress into nothing if you go that fast. I think you can get close. And I love the movie, and I would totally recommend it. It's not a dig. It's movies I like. Sometimes I'll give like a 75 too. That's not like a C plus to me. That's like you're getting close to maximum speed, right? So you're at 75% of perfection or 80% of perfection. That's the way I look at it.
So I've seen like thousands of films, and there's only like 7 or 8 that I'd give a 10. We've watched one of them.
There's no way you've seen thousands of films. I'm just doing the math real quick. Even if you saw one film a day for 365 days for 10 years,
I can prove it. I can show you my watched on Letterboxd.
I believe you.
But what I was saying is, there's only like 8 films that I'd give a 10 out of 10.
8 films? Wait a minute. That's a lot. That's a lot.
You think that's a lot?
For perfection? I have none that are perfect. Thousands? I don't have one film. My favorite film is The Exorcist. Okay, and I give that a 95. And to me, that's as perfect a movie as you can make.
Yeah, then you should give it a...
me. I'm kooky. That's just what we do. We're different. Just a little different.
But thank you so much, Barbie, for joining us and talking about Donnie Darko. It's been a pleasure.
Why don't
thank you all for having me.
People out? I don't understand why I can't shout out BarbieZodiac anymore. How long do I have to have this channel? It's like we don't have any shout outs. And people are like, do we have any questions? I know we have to ask the chat real quick before we wrap up. Do you guys have any probing questions other than that? Barbie, you're amazing. You have the most beautiful voice on Twitch. I've said this before. I
appreciate that.
But it's just like your tone. It's like I'm so relaxed. I don't know what it is. You're vibrating into my eardrums, and you're just like cooling me down, and it's very amazing.
That's awesome. A lot of people fall asleep though from it. You should take a nap during the stream and come back.
Sometimes I need to fall asleep, and I'm like,
okay, good.
And I need to relax, and I turn to your channel sometimes for that. Yeah. You know, it depends on the vibe.
Thank you.
Right?
Sometimes
Appreciate
I get nervous going into these. Obviously, you can't see it. I hide it very well. But coming into this, like hearing your voice, like it just calmed me right
God.
down. This
Yeah.
whole
Oh, heck
podcast was
yeah.
great. Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm glad to hear
So
that.
thank you.
Thank y'all. Y'all been very chill, and yeah, I was nervous going into it as well, but y'all just made it
No.
very easy, to talk with about it. So yeah.
We love one
Glad.
another, and that's why it works. Because at the end of the day, even when we like make fun of each other or joke each other, we all know that it's coming because we were like brothers. And I try to invite that into everyone that comes on here. I don't want people to come on here and feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing, or I'm going to say something and then everyone's going to jump down my throat because they don't agree, or it's like, that's not the vibe here. People should feel free to come on.
He was shaking his head. He's
They
like, "This is
bully
not
me.
a place."
They bully me so much.
Yeah, because you deserve it, because you're an
How do I
animal.
deserve
You need
it?
to be treated like that because
Wow.
you're bad.
I'm not
Because
bad.
you're a bad dog. And that's what bad dogs. I throw a cup of water on bad dogs and tell them
Not
to
a
go
bad
lay
dog.
down.
Jesus Christ.
No, but that's Michael
No,
Jackson's
it's
bad.
just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the opposite. So who have we got next week? What's going on? What's happening next week?
We got Tracy.
We got
next week.
Tracy. I hate you
Oh,
all
nice.
next week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we're gonna watch
Departed, right?
The Departed. Oh, what a good film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Who's
God,
gonna
I'm so excited
Who's
to
gonna
watch this
DM
film.
Tracy and reminder? Who's responsible for Tracy's
I'll do
script?
it. I'll do it.
You want to
Yeah.
do it, buddy? I would
I'll do
appreciate
it.
that. I'll do it.
I
I'm
got
going
it.
to mention to her a couple times,
Got it.
and I love it. It's gonna be fun. I love Tracy.
Yeah,
She's
it's gonna be so
great. Channel 9's a W.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Channel 9 all day.
good. Is she coming on camera, or is she doing the angry
We'll
Scar?
find
pretends
out.
to
I
be
mean,
her
she can either
Yeah.
way. It doesn't matter.
I'm gonna figure it out.
It's an audio format, right? It's a podcast.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day,
Yeah, but
it's
people watch it on
beautiful
YouTube.
voices.
That's
Yeah, we give people
YouTube's
options.
where we get the most views, so most people watch it
All
on
right,
YouTube.
then come heavy on her, JC.
We
You know what
have,
you should do? Right after the stream, make an all caps DM and say, you must appear on camera. If not on camera, you're fired from Channel 9. You should do that and see how she reacts. And maybe
We have a
they'll
question.
help. I don't know.
We have a question from the chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
I Wear Jean Shorts asks, has anyone seen David Fincher's film The Killer? And would you suggest it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I have never
David
seen it.
Fincher's a
I've never seen it.
motherfucker.
Yeah, I've never
The
seen
Killer
it either.
is
David
it's
Fincher's
really
an amazing
good.
director. He does animated stuff too. If you've ever seen Love, Sex, and Robots on Netflix, he does a short about a crab monster that he directs. It's phenomenal.
That's the boat one, right? That's
The pirate ship thing.
pirate
It's so
ship one.
good.
Incredible.
He's so good. I don't even understand David Fincher because he can do anything.
Yeah, but like going into The Killer, you think it's going to be a serious film, but it's actually really funny. It's kind of like him. It's kind of like him making fun of the people that took on Fight Club as their entire personality. Like that's basically who The Killer is those kinds of people.
Shout out for I Wear Jean Shorts for having a Bert emote, as Avatar being Bert from Bert and Ernie. Shout out.
There's I'm glad he mentioned David Fincher, because I forgot to say, going into this movie, I thought this was gonna have like a David Lynch vibe.
Oh,
No.
David Lynch.
Yeah, and I love David Lynch. Yeah, and it was not David
Blue Velvet.
It wasn't Lynchian, no.
No,
This is going to be
like
live action
Twin
Ernie
Peaks.
Bert show.
So excited!
Twitch.
No, that's not Twin Peaks.
It wasn't like that. No.
That's a different level of it, though, right?
Twin Peaks is fantastic, though.
The Elephant Man. That's another David Lynch banger. Or is that
I
Cronenberg?
He made that
is that
movie?
Cronenberg? Or it's Lynch, right? JC, do you know? Do you remember? Let's get into the
Cronenberg.
Wikipedia on this one, because
I
I
really
don't
like
want to.
Mulholland Drive.
I get these two, but that was an amazing film, right? The Elephant Man.
Barbie, if you like Donnie Darko, you should definitely try Mulholland Drive. It's
I heard that's good too.
It's
I
really
love
good.
it.
Yeah.
It's really good, but I prefer
Oh
Blue
my God.
Velvet. But I do love Mulholland Drive. I'll watch it every couple years to like.
I haven't seen Blue Velvet either.
see
God
it.
damn it!
I couldn't get into Blue Velvet, but I love Mulholland
Oh,
Drive.
it is a lot. Yeah.
Velvet's great, though.
Yeah, the
Mother
vibe of
mommy.
Blue Velvet rubbed me the wrong way.
He's in the closet. And he's like doing whippets through the giant canister. He has to bring the whole thing with him. Such a
Oh my
funny
gosh,
movie.
there needs to be an alert on my channel on Twitch.
It should be.
Yeah, I love his character.
Elephant Man is Elephant Man's great too. That's a David Lynch one. It was produced by Mel Brooks, which I had no idea until I found out just now that he produced that. But that's all black and white, and it's about Joseph Merrick, the real Elephant Man, and his life. It's really cool. It's really good.
I've heard Inland Empire is like just incomprehensible. That's what I've heard. His film Inland Empire, which is basically the last David Lynch film you watch, apparently, because you go through all the other ones, it prepares you for Inland Empire.
Was he an impressionist, or what? How would you categorize? Is he? I know he's he's doing existentialism as well. He's opening things up to interpretation. It's like Fellini-esque and dream sequence stuff, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I love too.
I gotta say, I watched Eraserhead for the first time last month, and after that, I don't really know if I can trust David Lynch anymore. That movie absolutely made me feel every human emotion in one night. I actually felt like physically sick from that movie. And I guess it's probably what he wanted. I had some emotional trauma. Right. Yeah. It took me a couple of days to get over that. I enjoyed it, but gosh, it is just, I was not prepared. I was not.
Because a lot of artists say artists are supposed to invoke any emotion. Like if they consider their art, if it makes you sick or if it makes you mad, that's as powerful or as important as making you happy. Which most commercial art is designed to put you in a place to keep buying things and be satiated and be pleased and be happy. And this stuff is like, look at this world, and there's also a lot of problems, and you should be sickened by some of these things. So I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I was just cool.
I feel you.
Yeah,
check out Elephant Man. You're gonna feel all the emotions during Elephant Man too. That's a beautiful,
Elephant Man. Okay,
amazing. Yeah, he's such a he's born deformed, and they have him in the circus, and they're mistreating him, but he's got such a power that he pushes through all the bullshit, and he defeats all of his enemies, and he's doing it with a bag on his head the whole time, and like and it's all black and white, and it takes you back to that era of like this darkness. It's just an interesting movie. I really recommend Elephant Man. I might pick it for my movie next time. Who knows? Whenever that is.
Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you all again.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's been an absolute
I'm sure we'll
pleasure.
have you again. I'm sure we'll have a repeat guest if you're willing.
Heck yeah.
I look forward to seeing everyone next week. Please. It'd be so good. Looking forward to seeing everyone next week for The Departed. Thank you so much. That's a wrap. That's it.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
I guess no one's thank you for having Barbie on, but whatever, it's fine. Bye.
I don't have to thank you for having Barbie.
That's my movie. That's my movie.
Scar on. You didn't say, "Oh, thank you for having Scar." You just take it for granted.
Go see Deadpool. Bye.
Bye.
You're not gonna wave, Fred?
Yeah.